Alright, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to pass a parameter into a REST-based method. I'm going to pass in the student ID and return back a student ID that matches. If I don't pass in a parameter, I'm going to get back all the students. And if I pass in a student ID that doesn't match, I'm going to return back an error message. Okay, let's start by receiving the variable. Just like you do in every programming language, you put the parameter in here. But since this is REST, I'm going to use the annotation. I'm going to use request param. Request param is a function. It takes a couple of variables. The first is the value, which is the name of the parameter passing in. The second will be a default value if you want. Note that they're strings. Please make sure that your parameter you put here matches the value, or otherwise this doesn't work. Alright, so if I return all the values, I'm going to get this entry. But if I return individual values, I need a different response. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to set this to a blank array list. So I'm currently empty. So now I'm returning nothing back, and if I were to check that in Postman, that's probably what I'll see. Yeah, I get nothing back. Not surprised. Alright, so let's now respond to the stud ID. I'm going to switch on it. And I'm going to set up a case 0. And a default. The default is actually going to be if there's a number there. So I'm not going to check for all the possible student IDs. It's either 0, return everything, or I'm returning a number. So if it's case 0, I'll set my array list up with my values, and I'll return that response. So let's see if it's still happy. Okay, so it's working like it was working before. I'm getting the two guys back. But now I want to pass in a value. And to do that here, I'll pass in stud ID 42. Now notice how the URL is built. It's the URL, then question mark, and then the parameter name equal value. If you have multiple, it becomes an ampersand. You can hand type that, but it's so much easier in Postman just to type it down here. Here's what happens with a second. It ampersands it and lists them. You can have as many parameters as you want. Convention is 2 or 3 is fine. If you get above 3, you really should probably think about passing in a JSON document. All right, when I send this, I get nothing back because I haven't handled if I pass in a student ID. So let's handle that. Oops, you don't want to see that. So what I'll do here is I'm going to add the student ID to the response. So with that change, when I pass in 42, I should get back Douglas Adams. I do, look at that. But if I pass in 41, I get back null, which by itself could be fine, but I don't like the 200 OK status. If it's not there, it's not. It should be a 404 or something. Okay, so let's modify that. That's a simple if. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the student first, and then if it's null, return an error. Otherwise, return OK. So I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to do a student. So if found is null, I'm going to modify this. If If I could do it right. So return not found. Now I could modify my response. That way I send something back. I send multiple error messages back. Why are you angry at me? Okay, I'm not angry anymore. So I've added my new student here. Come back here and I send this. I get 404 and I get the student ID passed in and not found. So I'm still responding with a JSON document, so my programs that are expecting JSON won't die, but I have a 404 error. Otherwise here, put this guy back up there. So 41 is not found. 42, there's Douglas Adams. Make sure it works for number 7 as well. And look at that, it does. All right, so you've seen how to pass in a particular value. If you want multiple parameters, just comment it and add those in there. Again, after 3 or so, you should start thinking about passing it with a JSON document. I'll do that in my next video. Thanks, guys. Good luck.